I'm Ken Aldrich. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been a financier or arranging financing for startup companies for all of this for about 20, 25 years. I've gotten a real sense of kind of what works, what doesn't work about in the entrepreneurial world, and it's been very good to me. I didn't start out, rich with a bunch of money to go do it.
In Oklahoma City, which at that time was kind of a cow town, a little bit of oil, but not much. My father, in his best year, earned $12,000, so we didn't have much money, didn't have a car until I was, I think, in high school. Fortunately, I stumbled across a mentor through the church that I grew up in, and he said, there's a bigger world out there than just getting through high school and maybe going to the University of Oklahoma and then getting a job. And he talked me into applying for and going east to college. I got into Harvard, did pretty well. Spent a year in New York in graduate school testing out a career that I did not pursue, and ended up back in law school. Ended up in California with a quite good law firm, frankly, and realized I didn't like what I was doing. I ended up going out, got a couple of jobs, learned from those jobs. Both companies that I worked for went bankrupt underneath me, so I was thrown out on the street again. Finally said, I can't screw this up any worse than these people have done. So I thought, I'll see if I can get going somehow in the real estate business, and which I had some training in. Was reasonably successful. Then the collapse of the real estate market in the 80s. That stopped because they changed the law. They had a financial crisis and a scandal. So I said, where else can I go that I don't have to go out and raise a whole bunch of money and I can leverage my skills? And the answer was early stage venture capital. I had to relearn a lot of things. Ultimately had a 25-year career in that. I love it so much, I still do it.
What I'm going to tell you comes from having been at one end of the economic spectrum and getting to the other end, and entrepreneurship in various forms was the key to that. So out of that, I've developed what I consider sort of pillars of entrepreneurship. The first pillar, I think it's critical to everything, is to own your own life. And I don't mean in the future that you'll someday be somebody, but own it today. One of the things that I screwed up in my early life was I let other people set all my priorities. They said, well, you did wonderful work. So I went through law school, I got my law degree, blah, blah, blah. And then after about 4 or 5 years, one day, fortunately, I said, this is not what you really want to do. This is not getting you to your real goal. And so get the heck out. So I walked out, took pay cut. And it was interesting. A lot of my friends in the law firm, they were insanely jealous that I was leaving. I said, wait a minute. I'm leaving, I'm taking a pay cut, no job security. Why are you jealous of me? And the answer was that I'd taken control of my life. Now, the second pillar, if you will, that I wanted to talk about, and it's the one we'll play with in a minute, was to visualize your ambition, visualize your goal. What I really mean by visualize is see it so intensely in your mind today.
One of the drills that I try to get people to do is, and it sounds silly and you've probably heard it before, but it's absolutely worth doing. Sit down with a piece of paper.
Take 10 minutes to write down everything you can think of. What would I do with my life? What would be my goals if I knew I could not fail?
If you can do that as a drill, what happens is, but it's got to be really concrete, you have to almost touch it and feel it. If you can do that, and you kind of do it regularly, you feel really silly, first of all. Even if you're all alone, you feel really silly. But what happens is it programs your subconscious. And along the way, you will find that you make decisions that move you that direction, and you're not even conscious of it.
Yeah, I've seen just a ton of companies that start up, some successful. I think, I can't really tally, but I think it's about 50. Some of them successful. The best was about 150 to 1 return. The worst I have certificates for that I can wallpaper in my bathroom of ones that went broke. So that's okay, because you're allowed to fail in this country and then go on and succeed. And failure of a business doesn't mean that you failed. I thought about a dear friend of mine, his name is Kareem, and I thought I'd tell you his story, because when you run into some hard times and the past keeps trying to drag you back, it's worth thinking about. Kareem was a very successful, very young businessman in Beirut, and then came the revolution in Lebanon. And Kareem was captured by a group of rebels. They were not so much interested in him as they wanted his money.
They beat him, they tortured him. Finally, he turned over all of his assets to them, and a friend of his somehow prevailed on them not to kill him. They dumped him on an airplane. He woke up in Geneva, Switzerland, in a hospital, having been in a coma. Found some people to help him out, said, okay, I've got to start over somehow, and went to Iran. He formed another successful business in Iran from nothing. Then guess what? The Iranian Revolution came, and the Ayatollah Khomeini came into power. He had to escape Iran with nothing in a, I think it's called technically a burqa, the full covering, disguised as a woman, knowing that if he was caught, he would be at least killed and probably tortured and killed. Got out, however, ended up in the United States with, I think he told me once, $27 in his pocket. Today, Kareem is a very successful entrepreneur in Los Angeles. He has a career, he invests in properties. He also spends 25% of his time, quite literally, in giving back to the community and charities and so on. Well, I tell you the story because had he looked back and said, holy cow, you know, I built it up and they took it away, I'm done. And then they did it again. He wouldn't have had that life.
I realized in talking to Nancy and through some other things that I was doing in recent years that, you know, there's something missing. And I saw a lot of people didn't realize just how powerful they really were at a very young age.
Don't ever let anybody talk you into the fact that you can't because of where you started. I'll say something, something will happen. One little fragment of a discussion like this will trigger something in somebody's mind.
That's my mission right now.